Okay, guys, we are live. It is Friday night, and we have a lot to get through. We've got like a back four here, loving it tonight, Friday night. We've got Keith at Eaton9 on Twitter and Ivan at Ivan Jennings on Twitter as usual. And he's been on before, Owen from Cop On Podcast. Your link is down in the description. Give him some love and give him a sub. Owen, how are you? It's been a while, actually, Owen.
I'm absolutely delighted to be back. And can I firstly say happy birthday, Dave, because it was your birthday the other day. I sent you a text, but I haven't said it in person. Oh, happy birthday. Well, did you have a good time?
Did fuck all.
He can't remember. He's 50 now. He can't remember.
Did fuck exactly. When you get older,
there's only so many things you can do when you're 60 years of age, right?
That's right.
Did fuck all.
Well,
just another day.
I'm glad.
Just
honestly,
another day in paradise, on.
I'm trying to catch you up. I'm 43, and I love doing nothing. It's one of my favorite pastimes these days. The wild years, they're all gone. They're all hazy memories. And now, give me a chamomile tea and a spoonful of honey on a Saturday night.
Can't believe
50s poem I got written by
over 42.
50s poem. Look, guys, we've got the goal to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about Leeds. We're going to talk about Liverpool on Monday night at Ellen Road. But really, I want to get the guys, because I haven't really talked to them since this fiasco broke the other night. Obviously, Jude Bellingham I'm talking about. Jude, hey Jude, won't be sung in the Cop. Well, you never know. But Ivan, spit it out. Let's go.
Yeah, as we were saying beforehand, I find the media reports very, very strange. Like nothing has changed. So to me, the conditions around our pursuit of this player haven't changed. We've been kind of bumming around, the top 5, 6, 7, 8 positions of the Premiership for the last while. The top 4 has never been certain. This player's desire to come to us has been well publicised. His price and wages have been well publicised. The fact that we need other players to come in alongside him and or in future transfer windows is well publicised. So for us for the reports to come out to say that we've ruled ourselves out of the pursuit of this player, I find just bizarre, to be honest. And Klopp's conference this morning doesn't change my kind of stance on that. He's only reinforced the process that they've kind of employed when they're buying players previously. You have a budget, you've players that you want to go after, you crunch the two plans, and something falls out of that. So, like, I'm not going to speculate anymore until I said on Twitter, until the 1st of September when we actually get back into the new season. He may be a Liverpool player. He may continue to be a Borussia Dortmund player. He could be playing for Real Madrid. I don't know. But to me, this is just fucking clickbait, and it doesn't change my understanding or opinion as to where he goes. I still think he could be a Liverpool player. But nothing has changed. He was never ever going to be the only player that would be coming in. That's just bizarre. So I find it odd, weird for me.
I find it odd because I was doing a live podcast talking about Liverpool to put an £84 million bid in, and then halfway through the podcast, the fucking chat went bleeding mad.
But I think that's a good point, right? I think they probably did put a bid in, right? And I think they probably are
blowing out the water,
testing the water to see what way that got. And this is how transfers start. You put something in, you see what the reaction is, and and Liverpool have been quite good about this over the last couple of years. The transfer negotiations, they don't just tease out the financial aspects of things in terms of a price or a salary. You find out about the kind of broader circle of things around the player. What's his family like? What's his agents like? What are his other demands like? So to me, this is all quite normal. The whole it blowing up into Liverpool have now ruled themselves out. I don't think they have. Until the club says we are not going to buy Jude Bellingham or even engage in any kind of process to buy him, we're not ruled out of it.
Keith, what's your take on it?
It seems to be, when the entire press pack seem to have all got the exact same information, and you need to make of that as you will. So, there is a release of sorts, out there. So they all got the same information at the same time, and that's why it went gangbusters all at the same time, effectively.
Yeah.
And I think what that basically says is we're not dealing at that money. So I think we've always had a figure in our head, and that figure in our head has been somewhere between 84 and maybe 84 million or something for that. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know how much influence we've had over the player, and whether or not we've got to a point in time whereby we've pretty much said, well, listen, this is all we're prepared to do, and Jude, the ball is now in your court, all right, and it's up to him to start seeing what he can do to move things along. But I do think at the same time, though, we move, and the club has to move outside of Jude Bellingham and start looking at other things. I also think as well that maybe Jude may not have given the club, that kind of understanding categorically that he's happy to move, and there's still some stuff that's up in the air, right? And I think the club was kind of gone, you know what, this is going to be protracted. It looks like it's going to be a bidding war. We don't know what he's going to do, and we haven't had any kind of, concrete decisions from his family and from the agent and from himself to say he's happy enough to go to Liverpool. So we have to, as a club, in terms of the shit show that we're in now at the moment, is we have to move, and we have to and we know Klopp wants to get players in earlier rather than later. He will want to have, particularly midfield, it's such an important, part of the pitch for us. He will want to have at least 2 out of the 3, and I think we need 3 in, signed, sealed, and delivered by July, start of pre-season. Okay, and I think that's where we made the other, thing you need to throw into the mix is that there's no fucking guarantee that our second and third choices come, right? Because it does appear to me that we put all our eggs into a bit of a basket, and now we're doing a bit of scrambling with those eggs, and that's the way it appears to me. So if it's Mount, if it's Casido, if it's any of these guys, that work all now has to kind of accelerate and start bringing these kind of guys in, to be honest with you.
Plus, the other teams have us over the barrel. They know we want midfielders, Keith. They know we want midfielders.
And the entire world knows we need midfielders, right? So no matter what way you look at this, no matter what way you spin this, okay, there's been a massive amount of fucking falling asleep at the wheel, over the last couple of years, to allow our midfields to generate into what it is now at the moment. Okay. Okay, we did absolutely fantastic last year, but it's only a matter of time. Our whole way we play, the whole way we play as a football team revolves around squeezing teams, not allowing them head up football. The playbook against us hasn't changed since 2018. Hasn't changed since we won the league. It's not as if we've come up against a league full of peak Ancelottis here. The playbook is always the fucking same. You get your head up and you hit the wings and you hit them, and then you get them turned and it's 2 and they're pushed on the wing. The playbook hasn't changed. What's the only thing that's changed, certainly this season, is that our ability to nullify that threat. It's gone, completely gone. But it's not only played on the wings, and you can play right through the fucking middle if you wish. You can play right through in midfield like a hot knife through butter. And we've allowed that to happen. Okay, we've allowed that to happen by not reinforcing. So I understand the reason we're saying, okay, we went to Dortmund, we told them, listen, we'll give you 84. They said, listen, to be honest with you, we've got a couple of other offers around the place, and it looks like we've got teams that they're going to give us 120 plus 130, 140, 150. We've looked at it and kind of gone, we need to rebuild here, and we can't do it. It does not take away from the fact that we've allowed ourselves to get into this position. We've allowed ourselves to get into this position as a club by not reinforcing and by not strengthening from a position of dominance, almost, to be honest with you. And to not strengthen, I think, is massive. And that's not just that's across the committee. And Klopp needs to hold his hand up and take a lot of that on the chin as well. That is not just FSG. It's not just FSG in my book. It's Klopp as well. That's my talking forth.
Fair enough. Owen, have you got a little poem to make on Jude Bellingham?
I found a couple of quotes from my favourite writer, P.G. Woodhouse. describing some of the reactions that I've seen on Twitter. Freddie experienced the sort of abysmal soul sadness which afflicts one of Tolstoy's Russian peasants when, after putting in a heavy day's work, strangling his father, beating his wife, and dropping the baby into the city's reservoir, he turns to the cupboards only to find the vodka bottle empty. I think people go over the top about this. I agree a lot. I think Keith was talking a lot of sense there about that we did have, the problems have been mounting and they've been obvious for years. We've been saying it on Cop On for years. We had a conversation with you, probably all of you gentlemen, a long time ago about how we need to strengthen the midfield. And Klopp came out himself last summer and said, no, we don't need to. Look, we've got, Chamberlain, for example. And, and some people were happy enough to trust Jurgen Klopp. I was at the beginning of the season. And you say, well, okay, I would have bought someone, but, this is the guy who's almost won a quadruple. Now, I don't know. Like, it's obvious that the mess we're in and the encouraging thing, I think, is that Klopp has come out and said that we need to sign players, because I've been waiting for him to say that since last summer, basically, since we started the season and we played awfully against Fulham and we played, very poorly in a few matches after that. And, I've been waiting for him to say we need to sign players. And as he's come out and said that, he's implied that we need to sign more than 3 players. Like he's trying to learn from his mistakes that he's made, and actually bring in a number of signings. And this is good. This is good news. Unfortunately, we can't afford Jude Bellingham, a truly generational talent. The scouts that I was teaching here in France told me about Jude Bellingham when he was 16 and playing for Birmingham City. When Birmingham City ended up 20th that season, he played 32 matches. As a 16-year-old, they were like, you got to watch this guy. He's going all the way to the top. So they know their stuff. Liverpool would have been exactly the same. They would have been following him since then, putting in the right words, putting in groundwork if they can, trying to lure him, because every top club in Europe wants to sign him. But at the end of the day, with our ownership model, we can't afford him. So what are you going to do? You're going to put, as has been mentioned, all your eggs in one basket and spend your entire transfer budget on one player? Or are you going to be more sensible and think, to stop the knife through butter on the transition? The big problem when we lose the ball when we're attacking, they as Keith said, they run straight through us. This problem cannot be solved by one player. I don't care if he's a generational talent. So we're going to have to shop smart. There's a hell of a lot of value out there. Yes, I would love us to get an immense amount of investment, but no, I don't want that to come from a state or this sports washing projects, or, we've got enough of that in our club anyway. I think the Standard Chartered, for example, but I don't want any of that nonsense. But I would like us to be able to afford, okay, we need 3 midfielders. Let's get Jude Bellingham and 2 of the other best players in the entire world to come and play for Liverpool. We would all love that. But we got to live in reality. And maybe, just maybe, if somehow accountability does come into it in the future, think of the punishments that await Chelsea and Manchester City, for example. And, there's a hell of a lot, there is something to be said about being sensible. Although, it's not what a lot of people want. It's not really what I want. I would love us to sign Bellingham. But at the same time, it's been so blatantly obvious since, we've been rumoured with him with FSG, the fact that, this season we need so many players that, to be that disappointed. I don't know. There's another quote, just to finish what I'm saying, from PG Woodhouse. There's no need to act that you've just been told that the girl you love is definitely betrothed to another, and you're beginning to understand how anarchists must feel when the bomb goes off too soon.
I know how you feel. Anyway, look, and anyway, where did this 250 million fucking transfer kitty come from anyway? I've heard it so many times from people.
Pure rumours.
No,
because people were assuming that it was 1 to 120 for Bellingham, and then we probably need another 120 on top of that. You know, so like we need another midfield. We would need at least one more midfielder. We need a centre half. We need centre half cover. We need right back cover, and I think we need to replace Firmino. Our model needs a replacement for Firmino, and there's nobody in that club
6 fucking players
in terms of our model. And so, like,
but that doesn't mean that. Yeah, that's what it should be, but that doesn't mean what it is. You know, our budget, nobody knows.
Yeah, and I think you've added on something else into the mix here, right? So, Keith, you've kind of made this two things, right? The chronology of how we've arrived at where we are is one thing, right? And the sleeping at the wheel, that's a thing in itself, right? Notwithstanding Jude Bellingham. We've then got Jude Bellingham, which again to me is just, we've always known it's 120 million and it's whatever the fucking wages are. And Owen, I think you've thrown another thing into the mix here, which isn't new. But we don't want to be like other clubs. But that's always been there. We've never wanted to be sports washed. We've never wanted to be owned by a state. Right? But as we sit here tonight, still nothing has changed. So I just don't get it. Like, why?
I don't get it. I don't get it. I tell you, I'm 100% behind you in terms of not getting it. And it also says, well, is the club happy enough, you know, for the fan base and for everyone to effectively get worked up around a Bellingham type opportunity, and it never existed in the first place, right? So, in other words, it gets interest in the club, it goes global, it gets clicks, it gets likes, it gets all these bits and pieces around. And are the club happy enough to allow that to happen over a period of time to then say, no, you can't have that? It smacks of a lack of ambition. Like, I'm sure there's a deal to be structured, you know, to say, do you know what, generational talent, the lad wants to come, and you know, we talk around to Dermot and we structure it over, and we do some smart accountancy stuff to put it out over 3 or 4 years and buy in 1 or 2 players in and around that. The actual, you know, to get to this point in time and then to turn around and say, nah, it's too expensive, we're not going to do it. You know, after allowing us to believe that we were strongly courted, and like, and all of this stuff came out, like when the stuff came out with you know, with Henderson, and that's been going on since the World Cup, and Trent, and going to concerts and all this stuff going on. The club at that point in time could have dampened it. The club at that time knew that his price was going to be sub 100 million, and that was allowed to go and allowed to go and allowed to go. All right, so unless there's some 4D fucking chess maneuvers going on behind the scenes, right? It's just, you know, everyone feels like they've been taken for a ride, and we all feel like fucking mugs, right? And that's the way we feel, and that's the way I feel as a fan at the moment, you know. And I'm kind of going, this really feels like we've gone back to the 90s. This feels like we've gone back to the 2000s, you know, whereby, you know, all of these names came up and we never really had a fucking snowball's hope in hell of getting them. And I also think it tarnishes the pull of Klopp from that perspective. And if it's the case that we've just pulled out at the last minute, could you imagine other players out there kind of looking in at us, kind of going, what the fuck is going on there now at the moment? What's going on there? That looks like an absolute crap.
Well, you've raised the fourth thing for me there, right? That if that is the case, Klopp won't be here for too much longer. He's a man of principles, right? And I think those principles have been challenged over the last couple of years. And if he has felt that Jude Bellingham was on his list and it was all going to be done, and Keith, all you're saying there is right about the structure of the deal and payments here and there and players coming in and coming out. If he has been told that it's one thing, now Champions League football and the money behind it obviously has an influence here. But looking at our revenues over the last couple of years, we've plenty of money to be spending here. If he's been told something, and that's not the case, that smacks of Gillex and all those fucking muppets. He'll be gone.
we're in terms of revenue generation, we're second in the world by doing things correctly, right? You got to take City out of it. You got to take City out of it because they're doing whatever they're doing. So if we're doing things right, and living within our means, we're still generating second amounts of, valid, legal. we're the second richest in the world. We're not doing it. One other thing to throw into the mix just before we move on, and I think is really telling, and needs to be kind of looked at, is up until this point we've never heard Klopp saying we need more players, we need more players, we need more players. You've got to think about what that does to the rest of the squad for the rest of the season. He's always taken it on the chin. He's always taken it on board himself. My fault. That rhetoric has now changed in terms of we need more players. We need more players. So that has two effects. Normally, you could earlier on in the season, you kind of go, listen, the lads don't step up. I'm going to start looking at players, motivate. But at this stage of the season, if he's saying we need more players and there's only 9 games left to go, 10 games left to go, that's pretty much saying you're gone. So you can't expect anything out of those guys, right? So, my dog.
Yeah, is your dog okay?
It's about this big, but I think it's about this big. So
it's going to turn into a hot dog and a sausage batter now in a minute.
Like Liverpool fans' appreciation of our budget, maybe. But that's the thing with the budget is the FSG line is that we don't have money, right? And this is very interesting because how the heck do we not have money? This is the thing. It's like, well, we've invested in infrastructure. And that's true. They have given their credits. They've invested in a lovely looking stadium. It's going to be 60,000. Oh, oh no, he's gone. He's been attacked. Fair dues to them for that. And it's okay to be sensible. It's okay to be reasonable. It's okay to live within your means. But the biggest lie that lots of politicians make is, this country, austerity, we need to save money. In the meantime, they're taking taxes from everybody. And where's that money going? Is there open and fair accounting going on in the government levels around the world? I don't know. I'm not an expert in these things. But that's the thing. We're in the dark. We're not experts. We can get... Oh, you survived.
Just about.
Okay, good.
I'm missing a couple of toes, but otherwise I'm okay.
Okay. No, but that's the thing. Is it where has this money gone? And in terms of shooting themselves in the foot by bringing out, I do kind of understand why they came out with it now. I think they've been trying and they've just now got a definitive answer. So rather than disappoint the fan base later by saying that we're not going to get it, we're going to tell them now. And then, with the double think and amnesia that we have in our world of smartphones, etc., we're going to forget about it by the summer anyway. This news will have sunk in. That's the tactic.
Forget about it.
But no, exactly. I don't think we will. This is the thing. They're shooting themselves in the foot because we think as fans generally that there's a hell of a lot more money there than has been spent. And
can I just ask one thing, right?
Yeah, go on.
What happened about 3 months ago when the club came out and said we're looking for investment? What the fuck is that for?
I mean, they've since we won the league, they bought that ice hockey team, didn't they, or something? I think they've been the Penguins. They've been spreading their investments further afield, and it wouldn't surprise me if they've been using some of our money. Who knows? Because who knows? We're all in the dark about it. But
where does money coming into the fucking summer?
But let's just say, right? Let's just say.
Where's that?
Okay, we take that on face value because you've got it. Okay, if we're taking what the pack are saying, right, that this is the Liverpool media pack are saying that 100%, or some of the German media guys are saying yes, a bid of £84 million, right, whatever that equates to, 90 odd million euro, was registered with Dortmund, and that's not worked, and we find out in the summer. If he moves and he goes for 120, right, million euro, and you're looking at a delta there for a generational talent of whatever that works out at, 25 million, right? So of a club of our size and stature, let's just say he goes for 120 million. I don't think anyone's paying 150 million in this market for him, by the way, right? But let's just say he goes for 120 million, right? So he goes for 120 million, and we weren't able to go to that 120 million. Like that.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes, right?
I think
The
something
other
like
thing
that
to throw
happened.
into the mix is
I
that
think something
maybe
like that happened.
maybe he wasn't as fucking sewn up like a kipper as he was,
Yeah.
right? Maybe
I'd
he's
say
still
that's what
fucking.
happened.
He's
I'd
still
say
just
Liverpool were
hedging
in
his
for
bet. He's still courting clubs. He's
Yeah.
still doing all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And we got a little bit woolly and kind of went, you know what? This is not as close to being a done deal as it was. We're not getting a nice fuzzy feeling from him. It looks like he might go to City. Looks like his head is closer to City. I don't think Real Madrid have the money for him, by the way. And I think they need a striker. I think they need a number 9, massive number 9. Okay, because I don't think there's much more legs than Benzema. So I don't think they have it. But let's just say he goes for City for 120 for that amount of money. Okay, then it's down to what age, whatever else it is, right? It still goes back to us not having done our due diligence last summer, not understanding exactly where that player's head is at, and not having a alternative in place to protect us as a team going forward. No matter what way you look at that, the collective, the committee, and Klopp's rhetoric is very much, he is part of all of that. He's right in the center of all of that things. Like, it's been a fucking shit show of massive proportions, right? All around that. No matter what way you look at it. No matter what way you look at it. Yeah.
Fucking embarrassing.
And it looks small time. It really does look small time.
Yeah, but I think Badger and Scousebird in the comments put it brilliantly. It was just up on the screen there. We need to get rid of Adrian, Gomez, Matip, Jones, Milner, Henderson, Phillips, Arthur, Ox, Keita, Firmino, Fabinho, Thiago, Jota, and Tsimikas. That's 15 players that he would get rid of. You might not agree with that list. There are a few that I would probably keep from that list, but that's 15 players that it's perfectly reasonable to have that opinion. And
we got to hold on to some of the homegrown. We can't just ditch all the homegrown, have no homegrown players there. But then, so.
If they want to stay, but it's I reckon Jones will stay, for example. But
Thiago dropped the Tsimikas. Keep out of that. And Gomez, that's about it.
Yeah, maybe Gomez. Yeah, but so that's 13 players if we keep Jones and Gomez from that list.
That's 14 players.
But that's the thing. That's the thing. It's not going to happen. But you can. But we need to replace these players. They're not good enough. Generally, you could argue that Thiago still is, and Fabinho maybe if he has a nice rest, he has a nice break somewhere. Send him to the Lake District. But we need a lot of players. We simply can't do that and fund a megastar signing. We can't.
It's not going to happen in one window anyway, Owen. I think there's 2 or 3 windows here for a rebuild. It was never going to happen in one fucking window.
I'd agree. Yeah,
but we knew this. We knew this last summer.
We did.
There's no change there from last summer. To be honest with you, we knew some players need to be
talking about Ferraris. We need a Ferrari. Yeah, Jude Bellingham, you probably call a Ferrari. We need Hiluxes. We need Land Cruisers in the midfield.
Yeah, like the positive spin I try and put in it is that it sounds like we're buying players. Owen, you've confirmed that, and I think Klopp has as well. Let's rule Jude out for a second. If we have whatever 150, 200, whatever it is, I still think we could go and buy McAllister, Casido, or whoever it is, and do a really good job. And probably think back to how Klopp built the team. He didn't buy any superstars. Even Van Dijk and Alisson, when they came in, they were top players, but they weren't superstars. I still think we could do it. It's
the most expensive at the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, they were. But looking at their salaries, right? So Salah's on 350. I think Van Dijk's on 220. I'm not sure what Bellingham would be asking for coming in. I still think we can do 100 in salary.
$1 million a week.
250.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The other thing as well that's not really sitting well with me is that if you look at Bellingham and you go, right, he's 19 years of age. Okay, it's an investment piece. Spread that money out over 4 years. And if he's that good and he turns out to be that good, which all
He'll be in his
indicators are
prime
just
at
gonna get better
23,
You're gonna
24.
flip him. You're gonna flip him and make money on him.
Yeah, you'd be double what you're paying for fuck's
I'm not
sake.
saying you want to do it, like you might want to hold on to him. I'm just saying though, if Real Madrid are in a better position at that stage, or PSG are in a better position at that stage, or Barcelona are in a better position at that stage, and they say, "Come play for us," and we'll give you 150 million, we'll give you 200 million. He's that fucking good, like it's just bonkers. It's bonkers. The whole thing is mental. It's just
I think
mental.
we better move on quickly to a quick Ellen Road chat, because this is the pure Bellingham, fucking Jude Bellingham chat.
It's not
Keith,
just Bellingham, though. It's not just Bellingham.
no.
It's about the state of the club. It's about it's where we are. Coming from where the heights that we've been at over the last couple of years. To be in a fucking mid-table team. And we could very well be having this conversation in 12 months' time, whereby we're back to where we were in the 90s and 2000s, talking about past glories and how good we were, right? Being a good cup team, good cup run, chance of a cup this year, that kind of shit. We're not far off that, to be honest with you.
We are 8th at the moment.
Massive.
We are
it's
8th.
massive in terms of where we're going to go forward, to be honest with you. And what we all need to know, and what we all need to think as part of, as a collective, is that, we need to make sure that we're in the right hands to be able to deliver on that, So, like, Klopp is gonna have to just be absolutely ruthless in the summer. There's no two ways about it, and build again. And that's no easy. That's no easy feat, by the way, because when he inherited that, he brought everybody on the journey. Right now, when he starts now building again in the summertime, he's bringing half the side on a journey going forward, and half the team are going to be going, you're not on the journey. You're effectively going to be phased out now for the next couple of years. Not everybody's going to be on the journey, right? So that's extremely difficult to manage, Like Ivan obviously manages football teams.
You don't get the same honeymoon. He won't get the same honeymoon period.
Even at their level, that would be extremely difficult to manage in terms of bringing that many players in. Never mind those that are play at that level.
He won't get the same honeymoon period that he had at the start. It's an absolute nightmare. So
People from the fans though, right? But not the players. I heard that he's already lost some of the dressing room today. I was listening to Tony Evans on a podcast saying that he's, Tony Evans has heard that Klopp is already, unpopular.
Let's say he's lost the lads who are going. I think he's absolutely lost the lads who are going. 100%.
He lost Naby in the fucking dressing room about 3 years ago. Fuck's sake, still can't find him.
Left him in the locker.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a tough. What have we got? 2 months left? Not even that. I'm sure it's very clear to the people who are leaving that they're leaving, and not even in football, in business. I've been in situations where I knew people in my team were going to be exiting the business, and still having to work with them for 8 weeks or 12 weeks or 16 weeks, whatever.
They don't put it in, do they?
Comfortable. That's not nice. When you meet them in the canteen for a cup of coffee, that's not good.
Yeah.
You still want something from them. You still have to give them something as a manager, but it's not a comfortable situation, knowing that you can't wait for them to get the fuck out, and they can't also wait to get the fuck out.
He needs a core set of leaders on that pitch, and he's basically going to turn around to him and say, "Do you know what? I'm going to get you guys to run through a fucking brick wall for me over the next 3 to 4 years, and if you run through that brick wall, this is what we're going to achieve." Okay. And it'll be leagues, it'll be cups, it'll be Champions League finals. It's up to you then at that when you get to that stage. But this is what I'm going to deliver. So you need to buy into that, right? Now, the lads who have heard all that before are kind of going, "Oh, I'm not going to be able to do that again." They're gone, right? So you got to think about who's going to be there and who's going to be on that journey. The new guys have come in, but realistically, all of that midfield have heard all this before and are not going to be in a position to be able to do that, right? And that's what needs the focus. So I appreciate that if that's his mindset now, saying, "I need 3 to 4 midfielders gone. I need 3 to 4 lads who are going to run through fucking brick walls for me now for the next 3 to 4 years," you can start to understand why Bellingham doesn't make sense, because he probably needs to spend 50 on a mount, 60 on a mount, maybe, to give that maybe a little bit more creative side. He needs a Casado and he needs maybe a McAllister to do a lot of the donkey work. They're going to be 70, 80, 150. That's 200 million. He's not going to get them all, by the way, but that's 200 million just there.
Sangare.
Yeah.
From PSV.
I'm just throwing out those names that are just popping around the place. I'm sure the scouting is far better than what I've just thrown out there, by the way. I'm just throwing that out there. There'll probably be 1 or 2 projects who'll come in and do a job. Absolutely. But even two of those guys, you're looking at 100, 120 million. And then we need a centre back, then we need a right back, and I think we need a replacement for Bobby as well. All right.
Yeah. Keith, you have to rock and roll, don't you?
I'm all right. No, food is down there getting cold, but listen, I'm gladly sacrificed that for you.
You can always stick a battered sausage in the microwave, right?
No, you can't stick a battered sausage in the microwave. You can absolutely not put a battered sausage in the microwave.
It goes nice and soggy.
Don't you ever do that. It's so bad for you. Battered sausage on its own, straight out of the oil, is perfectly fine. It's really good for you. As soon as you microwave that bastard, it's not good.
Let's say we go with the players you're talking about, and you're dead right. What if he stays at Dortmund till next year, and he's got 1 year left, and the price goes like this? This could all be some fucking weird conspiracy theory that just happens up in the fucking the CEO's offices. And this is why I'm sick of fucking speculating. I can remember being on my holidays when Coutinho was leaving, and it destroyed my 2 weeks on a fucking sun lounger in Lanzarote, because I was just looking at these texts coming in from push notifications for Sky Sports, Manchester United fans fucking taking the piss out of me, and me just getting traumatized, going, what is actually going on? And now I just don't want to speculate. Let's just see what happens. Yeah. It's incredible. It's incredible entertainment watching it play out and looking how really respected journalists are talking about it, and how Sky Sports are reporting on it, and the Irish Independent have things on it. And even watching Klopp, I think you see Klopp's body language and his demeanor and his facial expressions, and even when the question was asked about Bellingham, and he put the cup up to his mouth, and he was like, "Really? Have you?" He's prepared for these things. So
did anybody see the embargo? There was an embargo. Something happened in the embargo. I didn't see it. Obviously,
there's pretty much an embargo. Nearly most of these press conferences, there's always an embargo of some.
Something was said though, and bit like with James Pearce there a few months ago, months ago.
But the line of questioning this morning, right, was I've been, it's actually quite intense. The journalists are very ballsy with their line. It's like, we've talked about this a few times, and you've told me this, and now it's like this, and and he's kind of going, really?
Yeah.
Who the fuck are you? If I was there, I'd be going, check all these cunts coming in here, right? And only your man over there and your man over there can come in and ask. It's like what Ferguson used to do. He would shield himself and whoever came with him to the press conference, because the journalists now are kind of going, this is fodder. This is clickbait for them. This is how these lads This is how these lads are making their money.
I'm not getting any indication that there's any issue between Klopp and the owners and the committee. They're all on the same bus, by the way, right? They're all the same bus. The problem is the fucking decisions are all wrong, right? So, the only disjoint we have at the moment, whereas if you look over the past couple of years, you've got the management, you've got the ownership, and you've got the fans all going in the one direction, right? All rosy, absolutely fine. I think at this stage, we've got the management, right? The coaching team and the management and the ownership all going in the one direction. But I'm starting to see a disjoint with the fan base. Right?
Were you on Twitter overnight and have Jude Bellingham thing,
wider and wider, right? And once that happens, all the fucking wheels start to fall off. So all of this.
But is that because the comms, Keith? I think if you go back 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago,
it's poor decisions as well, though.
No, I don't even think that, right? There was just no speculation in the media. We didn't know anything. And next thing, fucking Fabinho signs.
Yeah.
And next thing, Mo Salah signs. And next thing, fucking Alisson signs. And we hear very little about it until the immediate 2 or 3 weeks beforehand. And it's just done under the fucking
club have allowed Bellingham to fester and to ingrain itself into the psyche of the fan base. That's all been allowed. And even Klopp, with little questions and little winks and little nudges and all that kind of stuff, that's been allowed to continue, for whatever reason, to get to this point in time where it's not fancy enough.
I don't know, but you're about allowed to. Like, McAllister is a good example, right? There are rumours flying around like the bats around my auntie's house in there's nothing. The club hasn't come out and said anything, but there are so many fans who are convinced that McAllister's signing for us. They're even convinced that we're in for him, but we don't know. We don't know. We don't have a clue. So I think with Bellingham, it's like one of these things, because he's such a superstar, and maybe we were interested or whatever, but I don't know. Dave, you wanted to move on to Leeds. Sorry to keep going on about, but I just think like McAllister is a good example of how rumors start and they stay and they linger. And as soon as if they came out and denied the McAllister rumor straight away, then they'd have to also come out and deny the Caicedo rumor and all of the other rumors that are just there. They're just in the collective unconsciousness of Liverpool fans.
We have a good relationship with Dortmund. We have a good working relationship with Dortmund, right? It's quite friendly, right? Now, I know when you get to that level of transfers, right, there's always a little bit of cloak and dagger, which is absolutely fine. But to think that we would walk into a situation of putting a bid in of 84 million to be turned around and said double it or fuck off is fucking mind-blowing. Mind-blowing to me. Mind-blowing.
If that's
right,
what
I need to move on. I'm going to have to actually, I have to go because of my daughter.
Yeah, no problem. You rock and roll.
It's my battered sausages in the microwave. And
Go on, kid. Thanks. Cheers. Cheers, Keith.
Listen, I'll talk to you all soon.
Take
all
care,
right.
Keith.
Great chatting to everybody. Great to see you again, mate. All right. Look after yourself.
You too, man. Take care.
Lads, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Right. For the next 5-10 minutes, we just finished with the Monday night football at Ellen Road. It's Leeds Liverpool. An old friendly Leeds Liverpool. I remember the games going way back into the 90s. The David O'Leary team, the noughties. Some great games. Even in the 70s, Leeds were a great team in the 70s, of course. Johnny Giles and all those type of teams. But Leeds are in a bit of a weird predicament. They're doing okay at the moment. I know they got hammered 5-1 by fucking Palace. I couldn't believe that scoreline. And us all of a sudden coming to town on a Monday night. This is not an easy game. We're fucking atrocious away from home. I would take 1-0 right now.
Oh, man. I was looking at the stats, as I often do, and Google's got some really depressing ones if you want to get into those. For example, Liverpool are averaging 0.87 points per game away from home in the Premier League this season. Okay. Our lowest tally since 1992-93. The heyday of the Souness years.
Premier League season just started.
Well, that's it. I mean, I knew that the league is, league history goes back way beyond that, and there were times when we did worse than that. But since the Premier League started, we it's our second worst ever season. On the plus side, Leeds have shipped 10 goals in their last 3 Premier League games in April, but they managed to win one of those. But it's more than any other team this month. So they're very, very, very leaky. And we're rubbish away from home. So I don't know what it's going to be. Yes, 7 all. Exactly. 7 own goals for each side.
So, and also Luis Diaz looks like he'd be in the squad. He is in the squad. He looks like he'd be on the bench. He would certainly not be starting. But even if you've seen him coming on last 10, I'd love to see him. I think we've missed him so much. Ivan, great to have Lewis back in the squad.
Yeah, like he was our best player there for a while at the start of the season. Sorry, my dog's going ballistic again.
It's the excitement. Luis Diaz.
Look at mine's asleep.
Just a mention of his name. Okay.
We're on that Jude Bellingham talk. She fell asleep.
I watched Leeds and Palace, and Leeds started like a freight train against them and scored. And then they just collapsed. Literally. I couldn't believe it. I actually I was going for a pint, and it was 1-1 when I left. And I got into the pub and I was looking up at the screen and I was going, I needed my glasses. I went, 5-1? What? How did that happen? So they'll go at us, I think, very quickly and do a kind of a Liverpool at home against us and try and get a goal, early on, 20 minutes, whatever. But we should be beating them, and the stats are awful. The stats are awful. Like I think
sorry, it's Friday night. I ruined.
I think we're second to Southampton. With our away form, nearly that bad.
I've said it. It's going to go on a T-shirt. Liverpool at home or Champions League. Liverpool away or Championship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Identity is out. No, intensity is our identity was last season. This season, half a pint of shandy is our modus operandi. But yeah,
Half a pint of shandy with a bit of whiskey in the fucking thing. Fucking
well,
all
we
over
could
the
do
shop.
with it, but no,
Bring
that's
back
what we do.
Stevie G.
Yes, well, there you go.
So I'm just before we're going to wrap it up in about 5 minutes. Owen, if you can give me a starting 11, what you think might be the starting 11? I presume there's not going to be much fucking excitement going on. We've only a few games to go. Let's get as many points and wins as we can at the end of the season. Try to get a Europa League spot. Even that sounds fucking bad.
Stop. You know, and
A conference spot. I'm returned. It's over.
Before you get into your team, on like I was looking at the league today and looking at the kind of stuff that we're relying on if we were to get to the top 4, which I'm still not ruling it out. Right?
I can't believe your optimism. Carry on.
You know, you're looking at United injuries last night and potential suspensions. Spurs hopefully doing a Spurs. You know, I don't think Chelsea are in there, but like Aston Villa and Brighton are ahead of us in the table. What the actual fuck?
And Brentford aren't far away either.
Villa.
So I'm
well-run teams, teams, good managers, good players. We want some of their fucking players. We want 2 of at least Brighton's players, don't we? You know what I mean?
I'm mildly hopeful. Whether that's just utter madness, I don't know.
That's madness. Owen, give me your 11.
I gave up on top 4 months ago, as you know, anyone who listened to Cop On would know. You know, I don't want to be a misery guts, but I just, you know, just look at how we're playing. We're rubbish. But anyway, at the back, Alisson in goal. Our hero this season. He's the one who stopped us from being about 15th or, you know, in a relegation scrap, in my opinion. Him and Mo Salah, who's also got a start. So they're the first names on the team sheet. Thiago's back, so he starts. So I wouldn't start Arthur Quattro, Joe, but please let me know. Send me an email, coponpodcast@gmail.com. I want to know what you're drinking. Excellent stuff. But sorry, I mean, you know. So let's go at the back. I mean, logically, Trent at right back. No, I wouldn't play Trent at right back. Gomez at right back. Trent in midfield. So midfield of Trent, Thiago, and no one else. We haven't got any midfielders. Fabinho.
One holding midfielder in there, Fabinho. We're fucking handy, don't you?
Yeah, well, exactly. But they don't really count because they can't run. One part of the definition of a midfielder is someone who can run, and neither of them can. You know, so I would say Fabinho, Trent, and Thiago in midfield. Gomez, Konate, Van Dijk, Robertson at the back, and then up front, Luis Diaz. I'd start him just for the vibes. Mo Salah and Gakpo.
Jeez, that's you know,
no,
you're
Darwin. What am I on about?
Darwin, Nunez. You're throwing it into the mixer there on. Look, I think he'll go away from home. He won't fucking throw a huge amount of fucking. He never does. He never risks. Like FSG, he never risk in the market. He won't risk on the fucking pitch. So, what do you think, Ivan?
Yeah, I think it's the standard back 4 with Alisson. So Trent, Konate, Van Dijk, and Robertson. I kind of like what he was doing last week with Arsenal, putting Trent in as a pivot rather than on the right-hand side of midfield, because all that talk of Robertson pushing up and playing right side of midfield, I don't think that's going to work. I definitely see him more central, where he's kind of less kind of defensive responsibilities, and if the ball goes in on the right, they've kind of gone for a 3, and Konate does that covering, and obviously he's a much better defender. I think Owens sparked something in my head there about maybe Thiago coming back in there with Thiago, Fabinho and Henderson. I don't think you see him going away from that. I don't see Luis Diaz starting. I think that's too risky, given that he got injured on his last return.
He's out since fucking before the World Cup.
Yeah. So I actually think he'll start. I think he'll start Bobby. I think Bobby deserves to come in after his great goal and cameo last week. And I think Salah on one side, Nunez on the other, with Bobby in the middle would be my 11.
Yeah, I think he'd be conservative and just the fucking usual bit of steel and no risks. It'd be obviously the back 4, Trent, you know, Robbo, Van Dijk, Konate, Alisson. Up front, I think he sticks with Nunez, Salah, Gakpo, and in the midfield, I think Thiago starts again. I think Thiago's in there. He'll need something. I was going to say you need legs. Henderson to be in there, and I think Elliott comes in.
Elliot, yeah. I mean, on paper, we're not a bad team. All of those are good teams, but it's just in reality.
But look at the performance last week. The second half against Arsenal,
was very good,
superb. Like it was faultless. Like if you were to look at it in isolation, forget about where we are in the league and the score. Sure, we gave up one or two chances, but we've always given up chances. The second half performance was absolutely super. We dominated that game, and it was exactly how we should have won that game.
Yeah,
it was exactly how you'd want us to play. Unfortunately, our form has been the first half of the match.
Jekyll and Hyde. That game on was the personification of the season. First half, all over the shop, up to say 40 minutes before the Salah goal. You know, giving away chances, making a few chances, missing chances, scoring goals, should have won it, didn't win it, could have won it. It was like Schrodinger's cat, both dead and alive at the same time. Won and lost that match.
But I think there are other ones, because that doesn't sum up the season for me, because we managed to sustain our pressure for 45 minutes in that second half. This season, time and time again, we've had 20 minutes of good play and 70 minutes of tosh. So, you know, it's been more that way this season. So that was encouraging that we managed to sustain it for 45 minutes, but we're still miles off being able to sustain it.
We failed to get that first goal where in the past 5 or 6 seasons when we scored first and we've just gone on and blown teams away. Where we've struggled this year is where we've dominated for 20 minutes, not scored, and then people start doubting each other, and it literally falls apart, and it's fallen apart on 3 or 4 occasions where we've got spanked.
Before we go, scorelines, I take 1-0 now. I take any type of a win. A clean sheet would be nice, but any type of win. It's a potential banana skin. We've got to bring our A game. Got to keep it tight. All the usual. Hope to see Luis Diaz maybe last 15, 20.
2-1 for me. 2-1 for me.
2-1?
4-3.
Famous. I remember watching a 5-4 on RTE back in the early 90s, and I think it was a Johnny Giles was doing the commentary on a famous game. Do you remember that game, Ivan?
I remember a 4-3 with Mark.
5-4.
I remember, was it Mark Viduka? I remember a Good Friday match with Mark Viduka.
No, not Mark Viduka. Even before Viduka, Gary or David Speedy scored an absolute beaut for Liverpool. David Speedy.
Wow, don't remember that.
I remember scored a penalty. Great game. Barnes scored. Great game.
Well, Owen, remember, he is 60, right? So that's a long time ago.
That's right. That's true. But
60? Well, we're 60.
No, but Mark Viduka match was, sorry, just a quick factoid. Mark Viduka's 4 goals against us in the 4-3 match, that was in the year 2000. 4-4, was it? No. Viduka, did he score 4 against us twice?
Was the Charity Shield game, was it?
I think, maybe. I think Viduka, the time that Viduka scored 4 goals against us was at Ellen Road in 2000, and that was the last time we lost there. We played 5 times in the league since then, and we haven't lost a match.
Fuck. Well, let's hope that continues on Monday night. And before we go on a serious note, guys, tomorrow, of course, is the 34th year, the anniversary of Hillsborough. So, justice for the 97, guys. I won't be doing any live shows or anything like that tomorrow, out of respect, of course, for Liverpool, the city, the club, the fans, the 97. So, stay safe. Enjoy your weekend. Justice for the 97. Cheers, guys. Owen, Keith, thank you very much. Ivan, absolute legends. Stay safe. Talk soon. Cheers. You'll never walk alone.